I've got a question. We bought a tool that seems to be a waste of money. Should we buy something else?
The most critical thing to look at is what you want the tool to do. Because oftentimes we think a tool isn't working, and in reality, we don't know what we want the tool to accomplish. And so we can definitively say it's not doing that. If we don't know where we want to be, we don't know how to get there, right? So, first, my recommendation is that you get out a piece of paper, a whiteboard, or even Lucid Chart or another diagramming tool, and you map out what you want the technology to accomplish. What is it that you need it to do? And then you can map against that and say, where are the areas that the technology is not accomplishing that, or where we have not enabled it to do that? Then go and attempt to enable the technology to do so. And then measure, okay, is it able to accomplish what we want? Is it not? At that point, you have a fair judgment of the tool. And it may be true that you need to swap out what you're using for that purpose because one, you're clearer on what you actually want to accomplish. And two, you can say definitively, this is not working. Oftentimes what we see is the technology is capable of way more than we're asking it to do. We're simply just not asking it to do enough, or we're not asking it to do the right things. So when we measure that, we map it, we're able to say, yep, this is the right tool for us. No need to switch vendors, pay early cancellation fees, abandon the annualized revenue that we paid towards that. We can use that technology and get the benefit we were looking for. If you've already mapped what you want the technology to do, you can now go search for vendors that have those specific features, functionality, use cases demonstrated on their website. You should search g2.com, find reviews that indicate that people are using it for that functionality and see how much they like or dislike it. And then ultimately go get demos from vendors and share with them what it is that you specifically need the technology to do. Ideally, you're working with a sales professional who can adapt their demonstration to meet your requirements. And then that way you can judge, is this technology capable of what we need it to accomplish? Certainly, if you have folks in your network who are already using similar technologies or have similar sales processes, you may want to go to them and ask what they're using. But we would caution you against going to folks in your network who are not in a similar sales environment, who are using different technologies and taking their advice, because frankly, what they advise may have nothing to do with what you're trying to accomplish or the sales team that you're running or the sales motion that you're running. So take that all with a grain of salt and be aware that some of those recommendations will be well-intentioned but ineffective ultimately for you.
What are some additional points to consider?
The first thing we want to avoid is falling in the trap of user error appearing as technology error. If we know what we want it to accomplish, we can say definitively, here's what we want from this tool. Is it the tool or is it us? Well, let's map out what we need the tool to do step by step. How are these actions benefiting our sales process or the activity that we're trying to accomplish? And then identify the areas of friction. And if you can pinpoint down to the specifics, hey, for example, I have an email sequencing tool. I want to be able to send out automated emails. But for some reason, our emails just aren't very effective. It's got to be the email sequencing tool, right? We're just not getting very many replies. I bet it's an inbox error. We're not getting to their inbox. And then you can analyze step by step, okay, well, what messaging are we putting into that sequence? Interesting. And who are we sending that to? Okay, well, we upload the list. That's a natural step. But what list and why? Okay, and we create a message in this sequence. But why did we create that message? Are we iterating on that? How many emails have we sent out to the same buyer persona or multiple buyer personas, most likely, with that same message? And are we iterating to see if we can improve that over time? Or are we saying, hey, I thought the tool would do that somehow for us magically? Right? So we can identify those areas where it could be user error, and it's hard to admit sometimes, switching platforms, running into the same issue and blaming technology again and again. We identify the friction and we say, is there anything we could be doing differently? And is there any way we need to adapt the technology, given its currently available features, so that we can accomplish what we set out to do?
Should I express my concerns to my current vendor?
Now, if you haven't already talked to your current vendor and shared with them what those criteria are, now's the time to go to them and say, hey, if we can't solve for X, then we're going to have to go and talk to other vendors. As much as we'd love to work with you, can you help us? Is there some way to get to that end result with your technology that maybe we're not aware of? Maybe you've got some support articles or you have a customer success rep you can work with, and they should be able to help you. If they can't, you've got the answer clearly in front of you.
What should I ask a potential vendor?
Now, one thing to add when you are going to switch vendors is to ask them more specifically about the promises they make or the claims they make on their website or in their marketing materials. Ask about the time horizon. Great, you guys can help us double our revenue. Is that overnight? Is that over 6 months? Is that with customers in a specific industry? What's the timeline, and under what circumstances is that true? Because it may be simply true for some and not true for you. it could have been possible with another industry, another, I don't know, another target market that they're going after. And it's just not going to work for you because maybe you're in a more difficult circumstance and they have revised claims they can share with you, or perhaps they would water those down a little bit to make you more confident in being able to move forward with their technology. So certainly as you're purchasing tools, that's one thing to be cautious of. The big claims, the double revenue, wild expectations, try and get to, well, under what circumstances are those things true, so that we know how to set our expectations internally, so that we're not saying, well, it's not working because it's not doing what it did for someone else in some other circumstance.
Have sales questions you want answered? We'll be happy to give you our opinion. Send them to questions@nofluffselling.com.